hello, how you doing? My name is Tehja, and this is episode whatever. I don't know. I'll put the number. I totally forgot. 7? I think it's episode 7 of my Vday Lovecore fashion project, where I am just creating this beautiful Valentine's Day inspired, Lovecore inspired, like whole fashion outfit. This video is me rhinestoning the crap out of some gloves and also decorating too, because I add a little couple of things to it to really make it pop and add to the outfit. So grab a drink, grab a snack, grab whatever you want to grab, because this is going to be a long video. Lots of rhinestoning, lots of technical work. Oh, also all the materials will be linked down below in the description box and in the comments as well if you need to peep that. Anyway, let's get on to it. Watch me rhinestone the crap out of these gloves. So these are the gloves that I'll be using. They are light pink satin-ish fabric opera length gloves, and that'll be the base for these gloves. And so I'm taking these extra long, like extendo nails, and I'm going to be using those as the nails that I want to attach to the gloves. So right now I'm just kind of figuring out the size and the length of them, and I'm just kind of seeing what I got going on. But I eventually put the glove on and then match and size the nails to the nail bed of the glove, or what would be the nail bed of the glove, because it's better to match it to the glove than your hand, so it looks more proportionate. And so as you see here, I put the glove on, and now I'm just going to quickly match all the nails, or each nail to each finger bed. And then here I started with the pinky, and I'm just cutting it to size. I cut about 1 inch off of length because I didn't want it to be that long. And that's like the perfect size. I just love the shape of it. I'm going to shape it up a little bit later, but I love the shape of it. I love the length of it. And it's giving extra diva in the best way possible. So I'm just going to go do that real quick and do it for all 10 fingernails. So this is what I got going on. I only cut 1 nail just to serve as a reference. And then I'm going to take all the nails that I got, and I'm just going to cut them down to size. And then after I cut them down to size, I'm going to taper the ends of the nails a little bit, just so that they're not as square. I still wanted them to have somewhat of a, like, not like a point, but I just didn't want them to be ultra square, because I figured that it will complement the look better and the aesthetic better. So anyway, I'm just going to go do that real quick to prep the nails before I paint them. So here I'm just wiping the nails off real quick with a cotton pad and some alcohol. If you have like lint-free little pads or something, that's a better option, but I just didn't have those. So I'm just wiping off all the dust that was collected while I was filing all the nails. And then I'm going to stick the nails onto the nail stand. I got the nail stand from Amazon. All the materials will be linked down below. But I got the nail stand from Amazon, and to attach it, I'm using the sticky tabs that you can use to put your nails on. I use those because I have like a pack of 100. All right, so this is what it looks like once the nails are prepped, shaped up, and on the stand. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to paint the base coat onto the nails, and I'm using this Amelie gel, UV gel base coat in order to prep the nails. And I'll also only do 1 coat of the base gel as well. So once the base gel is painted on, I cure it under the UV lamp, I think at least 30 seconds, but more like 60 seconds. And this is what it looks like. And so next, of course, is the color. So I'm using the Beadles gel nail polish in the color A420, which is like this red, like candy red apple color. Or candy apple red color. It's so freaking pretty. It's gorgeous. And I got a pack of reds from Beadles, and I was like in between 2 different reds, but this one was the right one because I wanted like a super duper bright red. So I'm going to paint each nail and cure it for at least 30 seconds, and then I'm going to do 2 rounds of paint. So I paint all the nails 1 time, cure it, then paint them again and cure it. So I do 2 layers of that just to make sure that the color is super duper saturated, because I just want it to be very like stark and distinct of like a very like rich red color, especially when there's so much red going on throughout the entire outfit. All right, so these are what the nails look like. I believe this is after 2 coats. And of course, after I do that, I will put on the top coat, which I'm just going to do 1 coat of the top coat. It's from the same brand, Emily, and then cure that, and then we'll get on to putting the nails onto the gloves. All right, so these are what the nails look like once it's all said and done, all fully cured, and they just look juicy and delicious, and I love the way that they came out. So I put the glove back on, and I am going to glue the nails onto the glove. So, warning, this is technically dangerous in that you can burn your hand this way, because I'm using hot glue. I'm just going to put a dollop of glue on this, like the center of the nail bed, and press the nail on top. And you can like burn your nails depending on how thin the fabric is. The fabric is moderately like thick, so it like usually I didn't burn my hand. I think for the second round maybe I burned a little bit of like my nail bed, but it wasn't like a long time. It was just like a little ouchy situation. So the best thing you can do is that you either have a low temperature hot glue gun, or when the glue guns first starts to get hot, that's when you start attaching the nails on, if you want to use a hot glue gun. If not, then you can use another glue that doesn't require heat, and you can glue the nails on that way. I tried the tacky glue on leather, and like it didn't work for me. And also if you have like a little hand mannequin, then you just don't have to worry about it at all, and just, you know, use the hot glue for that too if you have a little hand mannequin situation. So you can figure out a way to like glue it better if you don't want to do it this way and risk it. But I do have to warn you to like use it with caution and be careful. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's all said and done. And like if you want to literally leave it like this, you can. Like it's so freaking cute. I think I will be making gloves that are like this, that have that like kind of length and shape of a nail. Oh, you can see my pinky was a little crooked, but length and shape of a nail, because I just love the way it looks, and it's super duper sexy, and I just love it. So anyway, I'm going to let that dry for a hot minute just to make sure that the glue really sticks to the glove, and then I'm going to move on to rhinestoning the absolute crap out of this glove. Okay, so I went into my mirror and I kind of marked where I want the letters to start for the rhinestone letters of this glove, and I just marked it with a pin real quick so that when I make the stencil, I know exactly where to put it and align it. So this is the stencil. I printed this font on shipping label paper or sticker paper if you have that, and I'm going to cut it out and use the X-Acto knife. Now for the Valentine's Day or the Valentine's side, you see that the N and the E are, you know, separate. What I did is that I just cut it off and taped it onto the end of the rest of the letter and called it a day. So as you see with the TZ, because that's what we're working on for this video, I just cut all the letters out with an X-Acto knife, and so that makes it like a really nice stencil. I peeled off the back of the shipping label paper or the stencil, and I'm just placing it very delicately onto the glove. And so I'll be using some red rhinestones to fill in and outline the letters. So I'll be using Tehja's Wonderland 2mm resin rhinestones in Valentina, and also Tehja's Wonderland SS4 crystal glass rhinestones in the color Betty. They're both like bright red colors, and everything will be linked down below, of course. Those are the smallest 2 rhinestones that I have that is red, and so I'm just going to use mostly the 2mm to outline, and then if I can't fit a 2mm, then I'll use a SS4 size rhinestone in order to fill in those gaps. So I'm just showing y'all real quick, just real time, how long it takes to rhinestone, just so y'all can get the gist of like how much work goes into it. So of course I'm not going to torture y'all with this, so I'm going to speed it up, and I'm using E6000 Fabric Fuse glue because this is a stretchy garment, so the letters are allowed to stretch along with the glove itself. So this is really beneficial for that. So I'm just going to outline everything, and I'll leave y'all to it for the most part. As you see, I kind of readjust the stencil as I go along if I need to. And I'm using a paintbrush to paint on the glue as well, because that's just the easiest. Sometimes I use my toothpick to like dot the glue in places where I need them to be, as you can see here. You know, sometimes the brush that I use doesn't get into the right places, or like with the toothpick, it kind of gets into those places relatively easier. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm going to outline the letter first, then fill it in with the multitude of different sizes of Valentina rhinestones as well. And then rinse and repeat for the same steps. Now, I do want to say you'll see it with the Y, but with the Y, there's a lot of like internal lines and stuff like that that I didn't cut out of the stencil because I figured I can just kind of eyeball it, because to have to cut it out the stencil and then the rhinestones to not fit, it would just be too much. Okay, so I'll show y'all and I'll talk about it once the Y part comes up. So anyway, I'm just gonna leave y'all to it and let y'all watch me rhinestone the crap out of these gloves. Okay, so once I've finished the next letter, which is the E, what I'm doing here is that I'm peeling off the stencil for the T, the previous letter. Because, and if you've watched my rhinestone videos before, then you know exactly why. I like to peel off the stencil relatively quickly. I like to let the rhinestones dry a little bit first, so that's why I do the next letter. And then I like to peel off the stencil so that the rhinestones don't completely set on the stencil paper, because then it'll just be permanently glued together onto that garment, and that's not the look we're going for. So I peel that off real quick, and then I do some repairs of some rhinestones here and there if some rhinestones weren't as secure as I thought they were, and then I just move on to the next letter and then rinse and repeat. So anyway, now I'm just gonna leave y'all to it. I'm moving on to the next letter for this stencil, and yeah, it's just the same thing, but I hope y'all are relaxing and enjoying this whole process. Let me know if you enjoy these rhinestoning videos, because I have quite a few planned coming up. I have a major one coming up very, very soon, because, you know, it's a very big movie premiere that's happening in the month of May that I have a project for that's coming out very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. So anyway, love y'all, and I'll see y'all when we move on to the next step. Okay, so we're finally at the Y, and you see me drawing a line of glue down the Y because there are all these internal lines for the Y. That I decided to freehand it instead of using a stencil and kind of just eyeball it, because like I told you earlier that the rhinestones wouldn't have fit if I were to like leave it in the stencil, and then the stencil also would have been very complicated to kind of peel the backing off of. It will probably rip and just cause a whole big deal. So I decided to eyeball it. So I did that one first, and then I think I continued the outline, and then what I did instead of making like smaller lines is that maybe I made the outline a little bit thicker some places, or like doubled up the outlines other places, and just kind of made it work and just worked with what I had with the rhinestones and the texture of the rhinestones, and trying to still get the look of that old English Y. So anyway, y'all can see me actually like doing it in the process of it, but I just wanted to explain a little bit of like how I kind of made this Y work with all the little intricacies a part of this old English letter. All right, so this is what the glove looks like once it's fully rhinestoned, and you know my rule, because you've heard it a million times over this project if you've been following it, that I let the glove dry for about 24 hours before I do anything else to it. But I hope y'all like it. So the next step is adding the trim onto the gloves, and this is the trim that I'm using. I'm using this old, like, it looks like a vintage beaded, like, fringe from Odyssey Catch. I originally got it from Etsy, and they're still available on Etsy, but this particular fringe is not available on their Etsy shop. And they also have a website. I'll link it down below, but it's also like on the little label there. And so this is what it looks like. I put it on a white background so y'all can see the details a little bit more, and it's more of a darker cyan color, which is great, but there's a lot of brighter reds a part of the entirety of the outfit. So I wanted to add some more beaded tassels to it to get that Valentine's Day theme, and also the more brighter red elements, and tie that into this beaded fringe that I want to use. So first things first, I'm going to measure out about 15 inches of length of the beaded fringe, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces, of course, for the 2 different gloves. So I'm just going to do that real quick, and then show y'all what I'm going to be using in order to make the beaded fringe or beaded tassel pieces. So I'm taking a regular sewing needle and some red matching thread, and then I'll be using these puffy heart, I think they're 20mm puffy heart beads, then 8mm faceted rondelle beads, and I believe 4mm faceted rondelle beads as well. And I also have 6mm from Michaels as well. But that'll be for a later date. And so what I'm going to do in order to make the beaded tassels is first I'm going to take a 4mm bead and thread it through. I'm going in real time so y'all can really get the steps. So I'm going to push it all the way down until almost the end. And then what I'm going to do, because it's a double thread or double thread sewing needle or sewing thread, I'm going to put the sewing needle through the 2 threads and pull, just to create like a little anchor that it just kind of secures the little tassel and make sure that the beads don't fall through, or that you have like a huge knot at the end of the beading either. So that's what it looks like. Ta-da! Like that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a heart bead and thread it through from the bottom, going from the bottom up, just so that it's facing up. And then I'm just going to alternate between a 4mm bead, starting with the 4mm bead, and an 8mm bead. And I believe I do either 16 or 19 beads to make the tassel. And then that's pretty much it for making the tassel itself. So this is what the tassel looks like when it's all said and done. Very simple, very cute. So first things first, in order to attach the tassel to the beaded fringe. So the first placement I want is one little beaded fringe tassel into the whole fringe length, if that makes any sense. But you just go past one. And I'm going to put the needle from behind, going underneath the ribbon and pulling the needle through to the top of the ribbon, and just pulling it all the way until the first bead of the beaded tassel hits the bottom of the ribbon. Then I'm just going to loop back around, going from underneath the ribbon and then through the top of the ribbon on the right side, then do it another time on the left side, and then do it on the right side again to really secure it. And then once it's really secure, then I'm going to push the needle back to the back side of the ribbon and knot it off to really secure it. And I knot it off like 2-3 times as well. And then cut the excess thread off. And then that's it. So just like that. I hope that made sense. If you want like a separate tutorial for that, I can definitely do it. And then after I've done that, I'm going to mark where I want the other tassels to go. So I'm going to measure, what is that, 3 inches out from the other side of the fringe and mark it with the pin. But if that marker ends up being like not in the middle of 2 tassels on the beaded fringe, I'm going to move it into the middle of the 2 tassels, just so that it makes sense aesthetically. And then I'm going to measure again out 3 inches and rinse and repeat until I have 4 other placements to put the beaded tassels, because I want about 5 in total. So now that the placement for the tassels have been marked, I am going to then go pre-bead all the beaded tassels real quick, as you see here, and they're all attached to a little pin tomato situation, and just to make it easier and more seamless. And then I'm just going to attach all of those tassels the same exact way we did the first one. So I'm just going to speed through this real quick, and then we'll move on to attaching the entire beaded fringe to the glove. All right, so this is what the beaded fringe looks like. And doesn't it look a lot more Valentine's Day theme Yeah, it's really giving. It's really giving. I'm so happy I did that because I originally wasn't going to do it, but then I just wanted more, and so I did more, and I'm very happy about it. So again, I kind of marked where I wanted the fringe to start, which is pretty much the same place that the lettering started on the glove, just on the opposite side, on the side seam part. And so what I'm just going to do real quick is pin the fringe on the glove, and then I'm going to hand sew it down in place. So this is a little hand sewing hack that I kind of started to do really from my first DIY I did on this channel. But I'm just taking some paper and slipping it into the glove just to make sure that when I'm hand sewing this fringe down that I don't sew to the other side of the glove, because that's the last thing you want to do. And so the paper helps for two reasons. Reason number one, it makes it a little bit harder to sew on the other side of the glove, so then you'll be more likely or more aware that you're sewing on the other side of the glove. Number two, you can hear it as well. So it just helps in those regards. So now what I'm doing is I'm starting from the inside of the glove and pulling through, and then I'm doing like this like hand back stitch thing. I don't know, I kind of like freestyle. My hand stitching is actually really bad. I really shouldn't do that. I do want to refine my skills in that department, and most of the footage that I have hand sewing this fringe on is out of frame, which is horrible. But I mean, you're not going to learn much anyway, because like I said, my hand sewing was not the best. I just kept going just like backwards. Yeah, boom. Just kind of like that back stitch. I don't know exactly what it's called. But I know it is like an actual hand stitch, but it's just way too wide and too much of a running stitch. And then when I was finished, I really didn't like the way it looked. So then I had to like really freestyle what I was doing for the design of the glove, because I also changed it vastly from the original sketch as well. And also for the thread, if you see me changing thread like frequently, it's because I was using the leftover thread from all of the beaded fringe, because I use unnecessarily very, very long pieces. So anyway, that is the hot mess of me sewing this fringe onto the glove, but I do want to try out different methods that are a little bit nicer and neater. But anyway, I also didn't like the stark red ribbon on this light pink fabric as well. So like I also needed to figure out how to blend that better. But anyway, so I'm just finishing up the hand stitches real quick, and then we'll move on to the fun part, at least the fun part for me. All right, so this is what the glove is looking like so far. The fringe is fully sewn onto the glove, and it's pretty secure on there. That's another thing, I had to make sure it was pretty secure because of how heavy the fringe is. And the rhinestone letters are doing what they do. Anyway, now it's time to move to the fun part. Oh, real quick, I'm showing you that I did both gloves at the same time, because I was doing the Valentine glove for TikTok while I was doing the teasy one for y'all here. So I'll be using a multitude of different rhinestones, red rhinestones and light pink rhinestones for the gloves. But for right now, for this step, I'm using the Tehja's Wonderland 6mm resin rhinestones in Valentina, the infamous red color, in order to hot glue them on the red ribbon, and mostly in the center of the red ribbon, just to kind of, I don't know, like make it look better. Because like I said, like I just didn't like that stark red ribbon on the like light pink satin fabric. It just seems a little random to me, so I wanted to blend it a little bit more by making like this encrusted look of like almost like the beaded fringe was like encrusted onto the glove in a way, and just making it seem like more set in by rhinestones and sparkly stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was going for. So I'm starting with the biggest rhinestones that I have, which is the 6mm, and then I'll descend down in size from 6mm to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to kind of like make it, I don't know, it was just what I wanted to do. It just made sense to me. It's hard to explain, but it just made sense to me. So I'm just doing this part real quick. Oh, and I'm also using hot glue for this one because I also wanted to press down the threads as well, because they were kind of like not laying flat against the ribbon as much. They were kind of sticking up because I used such wide stitches. I really needed to use smaller stitches for that, but whatever. So I'm just kind of also like covering that up and making like securing the stitches down flat against the ribbon as well. Then I figured that the like 6mm rhinestones were a little like random too. So then I decided to descend in size towards the pinky of the gloves from like 5mm to 4mm to 3mm, to a couple of 2mm, and to some SS for Betty rhinestones as well, to kind of like taper off that line of 6mm rhinestones at the front of it. And to attach these rhinestones, I'm using gem tack for it, because I really wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to move nowhere, and gem tack is a pretty strong rhinestone as well. I mean rhinestone glue as well. So going back to the encrusted look with the 6mm rhinestones, I'm now graduating to the 5mm Valentina rhinestones, and I'm kind of filling in those spaces that were left of the 6mm rhinestones of exposing the ribbon parts. And so I'm just going to put them on the bottoms and the tops of the ribbon. I'm just trying to cover the look of the like the red ribbon with the 5mm Valentina rhinestones. And I am again using gem tack for this because I wanted some strength. And also on top of it is that I was still rhinestoning on a part that wouldn't stretch. Like everywhere else would stretch except for that. So I felt more comfortable using the gem tack for that one. For the rest of the like covering up the ribbon, and then also then eventually like cascading the rhinestones down, I'm going to be using a mixture of 4mm, 3mm, and 2mm, and some SS4 size rhinestones, red rhinestones, in order to kind of get that encrusted look, and also the descend in the size as well. And for this, I'll be using more of the fabric fuse glue and the gem tack, like switching in between the two, depending on what placement it is. If it's more on the satin fabric, then I'll use the E6000 fabric fuse. If it's more on the ribbon, then I'll use the gem tack. Then I'm using a mixture of the 4mm and 5mm rhinestones to start the cascade of the red rhinestones, because I want the bottom side of the glove to be covered in red rhinestones, and I want the top side of the glove to be covered in light pink rhinestones. So this is the start of that. So I want to start with the more of the 5 and 4mm rhinestones in a concentrated part coming from the encrusted ribbon and kind of cascading downwards. So I'm kind of just spreading the, like dotting and spreading the rhinestones around, and just using E6000 fabric fuse now exclusively, just to make sure that the stretch is still there for the fabric. But I'm using a more concentrated amount of that. I think I'm also using 3mm as well, but a more concentrated amount of that. I want more rhinestones, like amount, like a concentrated amount towards the ribbon, and then it to lessen as you move away from the ribbon, from if you're going from the ribbon to the bottom of the glove, if that makes any sense. You'll see what I'm talking about as I continue to rhinestone. But look at the ribbon, look how encrusted it looks. It looks so freaking cute because I also wanted that encrusted look because the ribbon part, it's on the side seam, so it's on like literally the side of my body, so I wanted it to look good. I just didn't want it to be like just a stark red line. I just think it would have aesthetically looked that great. So anyway, now I'm just rhinestoning the rest of the glove and just filling out all the spaces. So I'm starting out with this red rhinestone aesthetic. As you see, I'm kind of like, as I'm going towards the bottom of the glove, you'll see me mix in more 3 and 2 millimeter rhinestones as well. Then, to avoid that stark looking line still, I'm moving the tassels down so that I can start rhinestoning the top of the encrusted ribbon. And I'm going to add like a thin line of red rhinestones as well on that part. More of like 4 and 3 millimeter rhinestones too. A couple of 5s, but more 3 and 4 millimeter rhinestones. Just to start the cascade of red going into pink on the top side as well, because I wanted a little bit more red again, so just it wasn't just a stark line as well. So I'm doing more 4 millimeter and 3 millimeter Valentina rhinestones at first. Then you'll see more 2 millimeter rhinestones start to happen. Then it will transition into 2 millimeter Ariah rhinestones, which are the light pink rhinestones, and then 3 millimeter Ariah rhinestones. So if that makes any sense. But like I said, y'all will see the whole process as it's going on. So for the side of the pinky and the bottom of the hand, you'll see a lot of SS4 Betty rhinestones and 2 millimeter Valentina rhinestones for that as well, because I didn't want too much bulk or clumpy like rhinestones of color on the actual hand itself. So now on the top of the ribbon, you'll see me use more 2 millimeter and SS4 millimeter rhinestones to then cascade from the bigger rhinestones into the smaller ones before transitioning into the light pink rhinestones. Alright, so I'm pretty much done with rhinestoning the surface area that I got, at least with the red rhinestones. So I'm taking out the wax paper that I usually use to make sure that I don't rhinestone 2 layers together or rhinestone the fabric to my surface. I don't need it because the fabric is relatively thick, so I'm just taking that out real quick so I have more movability with the gloves, and so I can like fold it in the places that I need to. I let it dry for about 30 minutes, which I know is like a type of thing, but I was trying to get this glove done. I only had like a few days until having to model this look. So I took those out, and now I'm just going to reposition the glove so that I can do more of the red rhinestone and rhinestone the bottom of the glove. So here you'll see more of me using the SS4 Betty rhinestones and the 2 millimeter, whatchamacallit, 2 millimeter Valentina rhinestones in order to do like the hand part. And also to descend and kind of descend in size of the red rhinestones as well. And kind of sparse, like kind of have them a little bit more sparsely at the end of the red rhinestones before entering the light pink. I also don't want to put too many red rhinestones around the letters because I want the letters to shine on its own and be very, very distinct. So I just put little rhinestones around the red rhinestones around the letters. And if I do put them, it's a 2 millimeter or a SS4 rhinestone. And just enough just to know that, okay, the red doesn't stop starkly here. Just so that, you know, I just, like I said, I want it to be a very stark letter. So Anyway, just want to put that out there in case you're wanting to do something like this. All right, so now I'm completely done with all the red rhinestones, and this is kind of what I was showing y'all or talking about with y'all, is that you can see the encrusted ribbon, and then it descends from like bigger rhinestones into smaller rhinestones, and the bigger rhinestones are more concentrated at the top, and then it descends down, and it ends up being sparser and sparser when you get to the smaller rhinestones. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. So now I'm going to transition into rhinestoning the rest of the glove with a light pink 2mm and 3mm Ariah rhinestones. So in order for the also the mixing to happen of the transition from the red into the pink, I am also going to put a little bit of the pink rhinestones in the sparse spaces that the red rhinestones are, and kind of like mix them so you can see the transition from the red to the pink as well. So here I flipped the glove over again, and now I am just finishing up rhinestoning the top of the gloves as well. Just to, you know, rhinestoning the gloves with 2mm rhinestones exclusively, and then I'll do 2 and 3 on the top of the glove. Anyway, it makes sense. Y'all know the vision already, so I'm just going to leave y'all to it until the end of this video. All right, so this is how the glove came out. Again, it's going to be like some awkward shots only because like I'm saving it for the final look, which will be in a couple of days. But yeah, this is what the glove looks like. I'm very, very proud of the glove because I really didn't know what it was going to look like. I had a completely different idea for the gloves. And so I kind of like abandoned it again, like I did with the panties, that I just didn't want to do too much. I didn't want to do overkill, so I had to modify the aesthetic of the gloves. So this was my first time doing something like this with the beading, with the just kind of like the rhinestones and the transitioning between, and like having that encrusted look and transitioning between like the red and the pink and all that stuff. So I'm very, very proud of the way that the gloves came out. And yeah, so I'm very happy and I love putting them on and wearing them. There's something magical about them and I'm just very, very proud of them. So anyway, I'll leave y'all to it to finish off this video. I freaking love these gloves. I love these gloves so much. They were a lot of work, but they were so worth it, and I'm very, very happy with the end result. I love these gloves. And they added so much to the outfit because I was afraid of being too maximalist with the outfit, but when I finally put the outfit together, and I was really nervous about all the decisions I made, but when I put the outfit together and wore it, I love how extra the gloves were. I really did. I just had so much fun with it, and just like, because I'm the type of person, more is more. I do be taking out stuff, like even for my for this project, I think I took out a couple of things for the project because I knew it was like just a little too much. But I am a more is more type of person. I like to just pour it on there and just be as extra as possible with my art. But you know, it was like the gloves were more, but they still complemented everything else. That is it for that. All the materials, again, will be linked in the description box and also pinned down below. Check out my Patreon for exclusive content, like free patterns, sewing patterns, behind the scenes content, sewing tutorials, you know, extra content, exclusive content, all that good stuff. Sign up for that. That'll also be linked down below in the description box and pinned in the comments. I will see y'all in the next video. The next video should be the second to last video and the last video for the construction, which is rhinestoning and bedazzling and decorating these stockings. And that's literally the last part. So, or the last part for construction. So please stay tuned for that. So anyway, lovelies, as always, please love yourself and I will see you next video. Mwah!